This episode of Nintendo Expansion Pass is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support Nintendo Pop Like and the Boss Rush Network, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network and see which tier is right for you. Thanks for your continued support. Hello everybody, welcome to Nintendo Expansion Pass here on Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, this episode, the one, the only, the enlightened, excited Eddie V. Yes, it is a solo episode. We're going to be trying to do some different things with Expansion Pass. Some episodes are going to be by myself. Other times it's going to be me and Corey, and sometimes it's going to be me and the guest. So we're going to try to mix it up and give you guys something different, hopefully. This episode, though, is going to have two topics, and you probably seen it in the description. But I'm decided to kind of go back before my, I would say, DNA days, my Boss Rush Code NX, just all the stuff that I did with Corey back in the day, and a little bit during my optional opinion time. People don't know that I used to write blogs and stuff on wonder.com. Ziff Davis, that's where they had EGM and things like that. And then once oneup.com closed, Dan Shu, who was editor-in-chief, he went and made a site, or he went to a place called GameSpeak, and some of the EGM and One Up crew went over there with them, and you were able to write blogs, and sometimes you would get kind of like one of the 5 blogs of the week, and I got some in there. I don't have all my blogs because GamesBeat ended up turning into VentureBeat, and a lot of that stuff got lost for it. But I was able to find one of my stories that I wrote, and now it's not perfect. Definitely, there are some things that could have been written well, and I didn't have an editor at that time like I do here at Boss Rush. And I decided to kind of go back and read it for you guys. This is called A General Connection, and it's talking about how we as gamers connect to games. And I decided to write this one on July 3rd, 2012. It got posted at 4:19 in the afternoon that day. So this one is 12 years old when it's once it hits July. But yeah, that's how long it's been. So this one, like I said, is called A General Connection, and this is some of my old writings. It goes like this. I know a lot of gamers come from various areas around the world, from the younger crowds to the retro gamers back from the arcade days in the 7-Eleven or mall arcade, to the Vita and 3DS players to actual Tiger LCD games. Over all these years, each of us have developed something that gives this hobby, as some might say, more meaning than what others who don't know why we love playing. Basically, it's a connection. We connect to the games we play for many reasons, but it's that connection that gives us that passion and fanboy rage for some of us. That game may have a story that reflects what's going on in your life, or something that the character development reflects you as the player can understand and emotionally feel for. Good or bad, a lot of us can remember the music of a game and begin reminiscing about the times of that game, or playing with a friend and laughing at something goofy the developers put into the game. It may be a hard boss fight, and hearing the music change because you're about to beat it after dying for the 9th time. Nintendo has provided many connecting moments, and Sega and Atari too, with great games from Super Mario Bros. To Super Mario Galaxy and more. They have paved many ways for us gamers. Running and protecting Baby Mario in Yoshi's Island has stood out as many favorites. Super Metroid alone was a adventure that a lot of gamers connect to with the exploration and level design with exceptional music and the surprising moments in the game. The Legend of Zelda, with some ups and downs, has one of the most recognizable characters, stories, music, art, and fanboy love that you can see everywhere. It's games like these that have us talking about how it inspires us to make a costume, soundtrack, genre style games for download, food, drink names, and other media and work from the connections we make. Okami, Eco, Halo, Portal 2, and other games with modern looks and times have made such an impact that they to our connections um to games even further. I kind of messed that up. Um, each of these games provide the connection with their characters, action, gameplay, moments that has changed us. And knowing that we have been on a ride we cannot wait to get back on. So when you pick a game and not trade it in, see if that game can connect to you. Instead of a speed run or just to have something in your collection, see what that game speaks to you for you to connect to the game. Whether it's quirky, sim based, non cynical, or even bad, staring at Friday the 13th with disgust, you might find that connection of a great game. So, like I said, it's not perfect. I was literally 32 at this time when I wrote this, and I didn't know Corey, and I didn't know the whole Boss Rush crew, and like just like a lot of people I didn't know. But I was kind of doing optional opinion. I was on a different podcast. And stuff. And so I, the writing is kind of weird. The way that I wrote it, like I said, I didn't have an editor at that time. You know how sometimes when you write, your mind is speaking. You're trying to type what's your thoughts, and don't realize that you're not kind of speaking. A little better, I should say, or you're not being kind of comprehensible with that and everything. So but the general gist of this was that as gamers we should be trying to connect to games. Like, we should be able to find something that is relatable to us, and whether it's the music, whether it's um the gameplay, the level design, the story moments, the emotional beats, and things, there should be something that we connect to. Even when it's fearful, we should have something to connect. And because there's something about, even with fear, like in survival horror games, that we might be scared to go to that door, but I'm like, how many times in real life have we conquered our fears by doing something? And in video games, we tend to have a fearful um aspect or a fearful moment that we just gotta be courageous enough to go in and do it. And so when I wrote this, I kind of wrote it in the fact that I did use a lot of Nintendo games, because for me, I connect to a lot of Nintendo games. I said before that as a kid, I didn't really have friends, and I even told this to Corey, that I'm like, I didn't get to have my own friends until like almost 1990, when I moved. And having my best friends is still my best friends to this very day. you know I was so glad to have that love and have that friendship with them and be able to connect to them. So yeah, we did stuff that's outside, as kids do, but we also were able to connect to video games, going to blockbusters, and playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors and things like that. But at a time that the only way that I connected to anything was video games. So what I was playing Mario, I was playing Contra, Double Dribble, I was playing Ninja Gaiden, and like the arcade was like my special place. It was my safe space, for me to connect to all different types of games, definitely from Japan, because at that time Japan was like really running games. Like we didn't really have what we got now, where it's kind of like you got Japanese games, you got American games, you got games from the UK, from Africa, from Brazil, just all around the world. You got different types of games that come have came out or planning to come out that you could connect to. So like for me, being as a kid, and being as the Nintendo kid of the family, I should say, I connected to a lot of the first party stuff Nintendo was putting out. And still to this very day, as host of Nintendo Pop Block, I still connect to Nintendo and recognize all the great games that they put in out. I talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 because as that as my as my first kind of Xenoblade Chronicles game that I beat in, it was the emotions, it was the music, it was the love story. Like this thing about we'll fight on until we can't fight no more. And whatever we got to do to get back to each other, hopefully we could do that and achieve it and see each other again. And it was just like, man, the way that I connect to that is that if anything was to ever happen, I hope that I could find my way back to the people that I lost and the people that I miss and stuff. And be able to connect with them again. I always tell Corey that, I'm every time he texts me, every time I get to record with them, or I just, hear something good about it, I get excited and I get happy because I love that, something great is going on. And this is also for every Boss Rush member and community. Just like when great stuff is going on, I get so joyous and everything because I love to connect that way by feeling people's joy and seeing people happy with that. And whether it doesn't matter where you play games at and stuff, like if you can really connect to it, if we um talk the walk, we have episodes where we dive into a lot of the issues and themes. I like the coffee talk, Detroit Become Human, greed. Like greed is such a great discussion, and it was just like the way we was connecting to these games and just being able to talk about them and the themes, and talk about those games. It's just so amazing the way that we connected to, that we was able to describe it. I know I I know connect is being used a lot, but I'm like finding stuff that's relatable, that you can understand, that you resonate with. It really is something that I think in a lot of today's um no social media with gaming is kind of missing. A lot of people who try to bring out a lot of negativity so they could get clicks, then they could get money for those clicks and stuff. I think they don't, you know, get it. I think, of course, they get it as effect, and they're trying to use it to get something, not so much a rise, but trying to benefit off of it, instead of just being able to see people in a positive light who likes to connect to the games that they love playing, and get something out of it and having fun with it. So I think I wrote this, definitely during the time that I was writing it. You hear me talking about the Wii and things like that, because and during that time I had a PS3 also. I won't say that. There was stuff that I truly did connect to. I was looking really forward to The Last Guardian on PlayStation 3, and didn't get that game until it came out on PlayStation 4. And it was that relationship that I was able to connect with. When Rhyme came out, man, the connection that I had with that game was the feeling of loss, but done in a beautiful way. When I played Paper Mario, um the last Paper Mario game, I connected in that to that game by laughing and getting the great writing and stuff like that. Like stuff games like that, it's just I get so not overwhelmed, but I get so happy and so excited that I get to experience this all the stuff that goes on with it, and just be able to go and talk about it and just love it for what it is. So that that's how I feel about connecting in games. I kind of want to have a bigger discussion because like Gears of War and Hellblade to Senua's Saga um will probably be announced for Gear 6, or and Hellblade 2 would definitely be out by the time you guys see this. And I kind of want to see what people are thinking, what people are feeling. Can they connect to this game? Like I'm really am excited. So that was the first topic, so I'm gonna jump into the second topic. Now everybody know Square Enix is one of Nintendo's best supporters now, in a sense. So it seems that Square Enix is changing up their business plan. They're aggressively going to pursue multi-platform strategy, and this includes Nintendo platforms. This story I found on Nintendo Life, and it goes like this. Square Enix has released a 3-year medium-term business plan in its financial report for fiscal year 2024. And while it's mixed results for the developer, it has addressed how it's going to try and improve things. Most notably, the company has revealed a brand new 4-pillar plan, and under one of these pillars, it will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, not just Switch, but Nintendo platforms, which is an obvious statement to make, of course, given that we are slowly approaching the Switch successor official announcement. Square wants to build an environment where more customers can enjoy our titles, and that includes AAA games and major franchises. While Square Enix does release mini games on multiple systems, for example, we've seen the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster series, Octopath Traveler 2, and Star Ocean: The Second Story R all come to Switch alongside PlayStation and PC releases, though the former came out on PC first, and that is the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters. Other times, games are locked to a single platform. Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, for example, is a Switch exclusive, and on PlayStation, Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth are both time console exclusives, which has been the subject of a lot of discussion from fans, given that both titles, particularly Rebirth, seem to have underperformed. Multi-platform plans are just part of the picture, of course. Square also plans to shift from quantity to quality, build an optimal portfolio, increase and step up with digital sales, rebuild its overseas business divisions, and revamp its policies for human resource allocations and investment. While digital entertainment sales and net sales are very slightly up on 2023's figures, profits attributable to owners of the parent are down 69.7% compared to the last fiscal year. The report acknowledged this is particularly due to the disposal of content the company had previously alluded to, and here it spells things out much more plainly. Those losses stem from the termination of development efforts for some key pieces of content in the digital entertainment system segment. Pretty much their 2D HD stuff that they got rid of for that. So this caused a big stir. Definitely not for the Nintendo fans nor for the Xbox fans, but mostly for the PlayStation community. Um, and they kind of felt like this was a betrayal, and it's not. They're just opening their games up to more platforms instead of it being single. So, Visions of Mana is going to be on Xbox and PlayStation, and maybe they put it on Switch successor and later on. Octopath Traveler 2, when that came out, it only went to PlayStation and Switch. Xbox doesn't have it yet. They only got the first game. So I think their plan is that when they do release a lot of these games, they're going to go multi-platform. Now that's not to say that Nintendo isn't going to get a lot, because in reality, there's been about 42 games released for Nintendo Switch by Square Enix. Harvest Stellar, Octopath Traveler, Octopath Traveler 2, the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters that really upset everybody when it came out, because that game came out on mobile platforms and people wanted on Switch. Now that it's on Switch, it's doing a little bit better. The Guardians of the Galaxy, that came out, but it only came out for cloud and stuff. But I'm like, it came out on different platforms. It came on multiple platforms, and Nintendo got the cloud version. So I think Square Enix is business plan is smart, that they do want to put out quality games and not quantity. Because the thing about it is that their triple A games, when they are in their bag, they're in their bag. But Octopath Traveler 2 got missed out on so much, and the writing, the voice acting, the music is just like top notch. It's one of their best games. In fact, it sold like 3 million copies. No, sorry about that, everybody. It sold 1 million copies. So, I mean, that's good for them in a sense. Like when their first week when they came out, they did 75,000, which is not bad. So, I just feel like what Square Enix is doing is good. They want to be able to, I think, pretty much put a games out for as many platforms as they can. Definitely with Nintendo's next console come planned for maybe 2025, we may get some games that didn't do so well on other platforms come to it. Me and Corey talked about Forspoken, and that didn't do so well on PlayStation. I know people had their opinions about it, but maybe that game does come on Switch. Switch 2, I should say. Maybe when Nintendo gets it, Xbox gets it. There are so many ways that we could see Square Enix business expand by being on other consoles and stuff. And like they said, we want quality over quantity. That a lot of their games are good. That for the voice of, I've written a review for Voice of Cards ones, and it's just, it took me away that a card RPG game like that could be literally Game of the Year nomination worthiness. Like, it's such a great game, and it's a small game. I think people don't grab. I'll probably say the PlayStation, some of the PlayStation community, I should say, didn't grasp that Square Enix was able to put games out that were triple A and that were small, and the quality was so amazing. You know, for us, definitely for Nintendo fans, like, we be like, oh, this is another farming game, or this is, but then we pick up and get it, and it's like, oh, this game sold 800,000 copies, or this game did this, and we still are asking, hey, if your game coming out, are we going to get it on Nintendo's platform? Like, yes, Final Fantasy 16, not so much. We know that is a powerhouse game. But maybe we do see something. Maybe we do get Final Fantasy remake and rebirth on Nintendo's platform. People are going to eat it up. You know, everybody who's seen the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster, like physical copies, people want it. They want all of those games on one cartridge. Because Nintendo definitely, with this generation, we wanted to show third party that we will support your games if you put it out on this console and treat it with the respect, um and love and care like you do all the other platforms. And it's been rewarding. You know, don't forget Square Enix and Nintendo. Well, I should say Squaresoft. Squaresoft and Nintendo had a falling out with the N64. we didn't get a lot of games literally until almost the GameCube came out. And once the GameCube came out, it was kind of still small with it, but like we started Square Enix started seeing success on DS and 3DS and stuff like that with Dragon Quest 8 and then Bravely Default. Like they started seeing some success on Nintendo platforms, even though we were getting the small ones. Like half of the Kingdom Hearts trilogy, not trilogy, I should say, half of the Kingdom Hearts series is literally on DS and 3DS. Like it's on handhelds and I think in Game Boy Advance. You know, so it's kind of Square Enix knows that they can make a lot if they just put it on multiple platforms. At a time, don't forget, at a time when Dragon Quest was coming out and Nintendo was publishing it, Dragon Quest on 3DS was coming out on Sundays. Nintendo was putting games out on Sundays, and they were really making a lot of money off of that because there were smaller games that were like $40, and people knew that if you did not get this game, you may not get it at all physically. I should say that. Now we're in the age where you know physical and digital sales do matter to a lot of studios, to a lot of companies and stuff. So Square Enix knows that if we're going to be able to stay in the game, definitely as a Japanese company, we got to not just restructure, but we got to be smart about how we are going to deliver our games to the west, to the still to the east, and just like worldwide. And this is to me personally, I don't think Square Enix has abandoned PlayStation or anything. I think they just want to work with more companies by getting more games out. Dragon Quest 12 is coming out for a lot of platforms. Vision of Mana is coming out for Xbox in June and other platforms. Like we know that Square Enix and Nintendo have a great relationship. Or they got back to having a great relationship. Xbox has been trying to get more Japanese games to their console, and which I congratulate Microsoft on that. Uh I'm just happy that Square Enix is just being more fair to be like, yeah, we want to get all of our games out, and whether it be 2 or 3 games per year and stuff, we hope that these games come out on these platforms and they sell. And so I don't feel like they abandoned uh PlayStation. I just think that for Square Enix, that they did their business plan is smart, because we want to hit everything, definitely with PC being consistent and growing, definitely with the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, and all of that stuff. Even with Microsoft with Game Pass, so they could get stuff from there. Like I mentioned earlier with Nintendo, they're going to get that physical because people know that's going to be worth something if they can get that physical. With PlayStation, they may be getting a physical, but they also getting a lot of digital sales too. So all of that accumulates to something very good for Square Enix. So PlayStation fans, if you are listening to this, PlayStation communities, I should say, if you are listening to this and you got upset about it, or I should say, you seem upset about this, just know that you're still going to get games. And that you're going to get the greatest and the best. Nintendo's going to get the greatest, Microsoft is going to get the greatest, PC is going to get the greatest. And trust me, Square Enix is doing everything they can to stay as the top dog for RPGs. Atlas is giving them a run for their money. I will not doubt that at all, because Atlas with Persona and a little bit of the Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance coming out soon, stuff like that. Like Atlas is making a comeback. They making their name be recognized. So with that, everybody, that's going to be it for this show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Please let us know if you like more like things like this. We definitely will appreciate your feedback for it. Hopefully you guys have a great week, have a great weekend. Let us know what you guys think about uh these like the topic of or like game that you're connected with, and how you feel about Square-Enix. Like, put them in our come to our Discord, chat with us at Boss Rush. We would really love to hear your thoughts. And if you're watching this video, please leave a comment on what you think about expansion pass, our like kind of our direction, and let us know, like, is there a game that you connect with, or how you feel about the Square-Enix things. With that, everybody, have a great week, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time on Nintendo Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.